Ito na rin po yung second question kasi niya kung anong gagawin ng gobyerno para maalis daw po sa listahan. Thank you, Secretary.
Punta naman tayo ngayon kay Pia Gutierrez of ABS-CBN, please.
Hi sir, magandang hapon. Sir, dun sa interview ng Presidente last Tuesday, sinabi niya na tumanggap siya ng bahay mula kay Pastor Apollo Kibuloy nung mayor pa siya ng Davao. At plano niya na doon siya titira after his term. So how does the palace defend this po? Hindi po ba ito malinaw na paglabag sa Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act?
Hindi ko po alam kung ano ibig sabihin yung tanggap eh. It could be usufructory, it could be... Hindi ko po alam yung detalye. I will have to inquire.
Kasi sabi po ni Dean Tony Lavinia na anything substantial, di mo siya pwedeng tanggapin while nasa gobyerno kahit it doesn't matter kahit sabi mo na technically magiging sayo lang ito pagkatapos ng term mo because that violates not just the spirit of the law but the law itself.
Alam mo, I know Dean Tony Lavinia very well. He's in the same camp as Justice Carpio. Nothing good to say about the president. I'm not surprised.
Correct, sir. Sir, dun sa Sinopharm, bakit po kailangan hintayin pa ng Pangulo na magkaroon ng EUA para magkaroon siya ng second dose when the donation was already covered by the compassionate use permit? Is this an admission on the part of the President na dapat talaga hinintay niya yung EUA ng Sinopharm bago niya ito ginamit for the first dose?
Because some doctors reached out to him and said, perhaps you should wait for the EUA. And out of respect to our medical frontliners, he complied.
Bakit daw, sir? Bakit kailangan he should have waited for the EUA nung sinabi ng mga doctors?
Well, I'm not too clear because he has his own personal physicians and he takes advice from a group of doctors who have access to his personal physicians. No, but I was not present in the meeting. Pero ang sabi nga ni Presidente nung inanunsyo niya na ibabalik niya yung 1,000 para wala nang gulo, sige, ibabalik ko na. No? So that's the context by which I'm saying that the doctors reached out to him and said, antayin ang EUA.
Alright, sir. Sir, last question na lang dun sa vaccination ng the pediatric sector. Sabi ng DOH na even with the FDA approving the emergency use ng Pfizer for the 12 to 15 years old, susundan pa rin yung prioritization framework. Pero may mga magulang po nagtatanong, what about those minors na merong comorbidity? Like, example, mga teenagers na merong asthma. Hindi ba sila mapapasama doon sa A3?
Alam niyo po, antay muna natin ang pagdating ng mas maraming bakuna. That's speculative at this point because alam natin na pagdating po ng Hulyo at saka susunod na mga buwan ay darating na inaasahan nating bulto na mga supply. No? So let's wait a while po muna dahil ngayon it's futile to answer that question habang nagsisimula pa lang po tayo ng A4 at habang tinatapos pa rin natin yung A1, A2, and A3.
Alright, sir. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Pia. Punta tayo ulit kay Yusek Roque, please.
Yes, thank you, Secretary. From Paul Adrian Samarita of TV5, dito daw po nakaraang araw may mga nabuong pila sa ilang vaccination sites para sa A4, particular na sa Maynila, kung saan maaga pa lamang daw po ay mahaba na ang pila and in turn, maaga pa lang ay inabutan na po ng cut-off. Ganito din ang sitwasyon sa isang mall din sa Maynila. Natanggap na po ba ito ng IATF at ano po ang maaaring gawin ng task force para i-address ang masolusyonan ang hinain ng masolusyonan ng kanilang LGUs?
Well, nag-apologize na po si Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez for the slight delay ng deliveries ang inaasahan nating mga bakuna. Nagkaroon po tayo ng konting shortfall ng buwan ng Mayo, pero lahat naman po ay inaasahan dumating ng Hunyo. So again, we will reiterate, konting pasensya lang po. Talaga nag-agawan po ang buong daigdig sa mga bakunang ito, pero bagamat matindi po ang agawan dito ay nakaka-deliver naman po tayo. No? At inaasahan po natin na in the coming months, the supply, we will have more supply at lahat naman po tayo mababakunahan. Maraming salamat po sa kagustuhan nila mabakunahan.
Mayors of the Philippines, Bulacan chapter, but pictures suggest that there are Sara run materials in the event. This raised the question, are you supporting the calls for Sara Duterte to run for president? In another note, are you supporting her bid in order for you to run for a higher office?
Una-una, yes, I support. I support the Run Sara Run movement, but I respect that the decision will have to be made by Mayor Sara herself. But I have added my voice to the voices of many who believe that she should be the next president of the country. As to whether or not I will run, well, depending nga po yan sa maraming mga konsiderasyon, funding, health, and of course, I don't want to be presumptuous, hindi ko po alam kung sinong imbitahin mga kasama ni Mayor Sara if and when she decides to run.
Third question po niya, meron ba tayong inclination kung ano ang magiging susunod na quarantine classification sa NCR Plus na nasa GCQ at sa mga lugar na nasa MECQ until July 15? Are we seeing some areas in MECQ areas na maaring ma-retain sa MECQ status or totally escalate into ECQ?
Well, binabantay pa po natin yan. For Metro Manila, the numbers are looking good. The hospital care utilization remains very low. We're at 53 in ICU beds at yan po yan isa sa talagang importanting factor for escalation. So I would say in fact that based on the figures, Metro Manila Plus might be looking at a de-escalation. It might not be to MGCQ, but it could be to ordinary GCQ because ang GCQ po natin ngayon meron pang mga restrictions. At mamayang hapon na po, isa sa pag-uusapan ay yung pagbubukas ng gym dahil talaga naman po yung mga gaya kung dati ng mataba, lalong tumaba dahil wala pong gym. No? So, aanunsyo po natin kung ano magiging desisyon ng IATF. And the other areas po na nasa MECQ ay binabantayan po talaga natin yan and we are always data-driven po. So, I do not want to speculate dahil hindi ko po nakikita yung datos dun sa mga ibang areas na nasa MECQ. Nakita ko lang po dito sa Metro Manila.
Opo, fourth question niya, DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez said that opening of some indoor non-contact sports as well as some indoor tourism activities will be decided by IATF today. As of now, does the task force have an inclination on what will be the regulations for these industries?
Well, meron pong naging technical working group meeting kahapon that recommended a course of action sa IATF. Hindi po ako nag-attend nun, but we will know what the recommendation of the technical working group will be in a meeting that will commence at 2 p.m. today.
Thank you, Secretary.
Punta tayo kay Pia Renada, please.
Hello, Sec?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Three questions for you and then one question po sana for Justice Hardilesa. First for you, sir. Did you get any feedback on your suggestion that the baselines law amendment be mentioned in the SONA?
Wala po. It's subject to full staff work. Okay, ang sagot ni Presidente, pakisabi kay Justice, ganito, pag merong suggestion sa akin, ibibigay ko muna yan sa Office ng Legal ng Executive Secretary. Then it will be forwarded to the Executive Secretary for a recommendation for my decision. No? So yun po yung sinagot niya actually, no? And asked me to relate to Justice Hardilesa. So it's just an openness to study the matter.
Okay. And then, sir, are there any developments on the debate regarding face shields? Because some critics are saying that our policies aren't keeping up with the science and burdening Filipinos unnecessarily. Ano na po yung naging discussions dito?
On the contrary, no less than the Philippine Medical Association gave its opinion that meron pong utility at meron pong dahilan kung bakit dapat ipagpatuloy yung pagsusuot ng face shield. Dahil ngayon naman po, halos lahat na tayo meron face shield. No? So yung economic reason, I don't think holds anymore.
But sir, how about in certain contexts like outdoors? Some people are saying na at the very least outside, like when people are pursuing activities outside, exercising, jogging, that we shouldn't anymore require face shields.
I think naman law enforcement will also use common sense. No? For instance, you don't use mask when you're in the water swimming, no? And swimming is an allowed sport. No? In the same way, I don't think law enforcement will hold it against you if you are running or bicycling na walang shield, no? Given that you're engaged in a non-contact sport anyway. No? So I think there's also an element of common sense.
But sir, aren't you going to formalize this? Because if you just rely on common sense, diba? It's not in the law or it's not in the resolutions anywhere. What's to stop law enforcement from saying that, oh, bawal yan, hindi naman nakasabi sa batas na pwede?
That would really depend on the ordinance. No? Kasi ang IATF power naman, wala kaming legislative powers. No? We are relying on the ordinances passed by the local government units.
And then, Sir, lastly for you, what are the discussions now about what fully vaccinated persons can do? I understand there aren't any guidelines yet, but have there been at least movements on talks on what we can allow fully vaccinated people to do?
That's in the agenda this afternoon and it's under executive session. So, importante po yan, pag-uusapan talaga mamaya. And no holds barred discussion. That's why it's under an executive session.
And so, sir, do we expect that by the end of the day, mayroon na pong guidelines?
Well, I will announce whatever is decided upon by the IATF. Normally, I wait a day after dahil kinakailangan ko yung signed resolution. But given the importance of the topics, I will ask for leave to announce even without the signed resolution.
Okay. And then last question is for Justice Hardileza. Justice, do you agree with President Duterte's remarks that the Hague ruling should just be thrown in the trash can?
Excuse me, what is the question again?
Sir, do you agree with President Duterte's remarks that the Hague ruling should just be thrown in the trash can because hindi naman daw po siya enforceable?
Okay. Tiningnan ko yung statements ng Pangulo. I think in the first place, he did not say na throw it into the trash can. He said something else. And then sinabi niya yun sa konteksto sa context na sinabi niya. So, you will remember na ang Pangulo ay dumulog din sa United Nations. Sinabi niya na itong napanalo ng Pilipinas, I don't know the exact terms, but it's durable, permanent. I think sinabi niya permanent. So, tinignan ko rin sa mga State of the Nation address niya. Pero ang ginagamit na termino ata permanent. So, sa kabuuan, I think the President is supportive of the tribunal's decision.
Sir, let me just read out the exact quote. Pinursu ko walang nangyari. Actually, sa usapang bugoy, sabihin ko sa'yo, bigay mo sa akin, putang ay nagpapel lang yan, itatapon ko yan sa wastebasket.
I think the question's been answered, no?
Work hard for that thing.
No, let me answer. Ang konteksto nun, sabi niya, sa usapang bugoy. Ang ibig sabihin ng usapang bugoy ay usapang bugoy.
So, okay lang yun, sir.
Kung if a Filipino defends before an international tribunal what is the position of the Philippines, ang magiging importante ano ang sinabi ng Pangulo sa United Nations. Ano ang sinabi ng Pangulo sa State of the Nation address. Okay? Ngayon, ang tanong mo ay mas ninanais mo ba hindi sana sinabi ng Pangulo ay pwede kang mag-argumento. But ang sabi ko naman sa iyo ay lahat ay nasa konteksto. Everything is set in context. So, ngayon, alam mo, ang mahalaga dito ay alam mo, kung tayo ay tutulog ulit sa International Tribunal, ninanais ba ng mga Pilipino na yung mga sinasabi natin will be taken against us? Yan bang ninanais natin?
Okay, thank you, Justice, and thank you, Pia. Let's move on to Yusek Roque again.
Yes, thank you, Secretary. From Jerome Aning of PDI, Senator Pacquiao defended his statement on the West Philippine Sea issue by saying he was just a Filipino voicing out what needs to be said in defense of what has been adjudicated as rightfully ours. May question daw po niya, as an international lawyer, do you agree that the arbitration case can be described as an adjudication?
Well, hindi po strictly speaking adjudication ang isang arbitral ruling in the sense that we know that Philippine courts adjudicate cases, no? Ang Justice, correct me if I'm wrong, ano ulit ang tawag sa award nila? It's called an award, no? It's an arbitral award. It's not even a ruling, no? So in international law kasi, the weight of an international tribunal's award is a subsidiary source of international law. It is evidence of the existing customary law of international law. Justice, would you like to add po?
Well, I agree with the Secretary Roque. May dagdag ko lang is, again, ang mahalaga siguro ay sa tagisan ng mga pananaw ay igagalang natin ang pananaw ni Senator Pacquiao. Sino ba ang tama? Yun ba ang tribunal ay desisyon? Ano ba to? Ngayon, i-relate ko lang sa topiko natin is lahat yan ay pananaw. Ngayon, may politika, do you agree or not? But ang importante, mga Pilipino ay makiisa na harapin ang problema na paano natin i-enforce o pagbigay ng halaga ang desisyon ng tribunal. Ano man yon, ng mga abogado ay magkaiba-iba ang pananaw, kung yun ay whatever they call it. Alam mo yung mga abogado, iba-iba eh. You can have 10 lawyers in the room, they will describe it 10 ways differently. Ang importante, babalik ko, ano ang gagawin ng Coast Guard natin? Ano ang gagawin ng Air Force? Ano ang gagawin ng Navy kung sila ay ating pinapadala at hinaharap ang katunggali in the open seas? ang topiko natin, kailangan ba ng bagong batas? Sa pananaw namin, yes. Ang ibang tao, sa pananaw nila, hindi kailangan. May iba naman presidential proclamation. Ipaubayan na po natin sa Kongreso. Yun lang po, Mr. Secretary.
Okay, maraming salamat. Go ahead, Yusuf Roque, last question.
Question po para po kay Justice Ardilesa sa mga guests daw po. In its memorial submitted to the Arbitral Tribunal in March 2014, the Philippine government showed a map of the South China Sea showing two of the Philippine-occupied islands, Pag-asa or Tito Island, and Wata or Belchora Aquino Cay, as well as the Chinese reclaimed Subi Reef, Cuarteron Reef, and Tiri Cross Reef, all lying outside of the 200 miles EEZ of the Philippines. These features are also outside the EEZ limits of all the other claimant countries. The map appears as figure 2.5 in the memorial. Ang question po, what is now the basis of the Philippines' continuing occupation of Pag-asa, considering that it's outside of our EEZ and that the arbitral award virtually nullified the Kalayaan Island Group polygonal territorial claim of the Philippines?
Go ahead, Justice.